The letter arrived on a Tuesday, sealed with the crimson wax crest of the Whitmore family, and it burned a hole through Jasper Cole's heart before he even opened it. He stood in the cramped kitchen of his Brooklyn apartment. The city's hum a dull roar outside, and stared at the envelope like it was a grenade. It wasn't just paper, it was a summons. A demand to return to the life he'd fled 5 years ago. Jasper's fingers trembled as he broke the seal. The words inside were cold, formal, and unmistakable. You are hereby summoned to Whitmore Manor to address your claim as heir. Heir. The word tasted like ash. He wasn't born a Whitmore. Not by blood. He was the adopted son. The outsider who'd been plucked from foster care at 13 and thrust into a world of wealth and rigid rules. The Whitmores had given him a name, a home, and a future, but it came with a leash. And Jasper had spent his entire youth straining against it. He tossed the letter onto the counter, his pulse racing. 5 years ago, he'd walked away from the manor, from the suffocating expectations, from the family that never truly saw him as one of their own. And from Ethan God. Ethan. The memory of him stung worse than the letter. Ethan Whitmore, the golden son, the one who'd called Jasper his brother in public, but something far more dangerous in private. Their stolen moments in the manor's shadowed halls, the whispered promises under starlit oaks, had been Jasper's only tether to that place. Until Ethan turned his back, siding with the family when they demanded Jasper conform or leave. Now, at 25, Jasper had built a life in New York. He worked as a graphic designer, lived in a shoebox apartment, and dated guys who didn't know the weight of the Whitmore name. But the letter wasn't a request, it was an order. The patriarch, Charles Whitmore, was dying, and the family was circling like vultures to divide the empire. Jasper's claim as heir, a clause buried in Charles's will, was a complication they couldn't ignore. He could almost hear their sneers. The foster kid thinks he's one of us. He booked a flight to Virginia that night, his stomach churning. Whitmore Manor loomed in his mind like a Gothic specter sprawling, ancient, and cold despite its opulence. When he landed, the air was thick with the scent of pine and old money. A black car waited at the airport, the driver silent as he ferried Jasper through rolling hills to the estate. The iron gates creaked open, and there it was, the mansion, all stone and ivy, its windows glinting like judgmental eyes. Inside, the air was heavy with polished wood and history. The family was gathered in the grand parlor. Charles's sister, Margaret, with her pinched face, his cousins, all tailored suits and fake smiles, and Ethan. Jasper's breath caught. Ethan stood by the fireplace, taller than Jasper remembered, his blonde hair catching the light, his blue eyes locking onto Jasper's with an intensity that made the room tilt. He was still beautiful, still the boy who'd stolen Jasper's heart and broken it in the same breath. Jasper, Margaret said, her voice dripping with disdain. You've kept us waiting. I wasn't aware I was on your schedule. Jasper shot back, his tone sharper than he intended. He felt Ethan's gaze like a physical weight, but he refused to look at him. Margaret's lips thinned. Charles's will names you as a potential heir. But let's be clear, you're not blood. You're a charity case who got lucky. If you think you can waltz in and claim what's ours, you're delusional. The room murmured agreement, but Jasper's eyes flicked to Ethan, searching for a reaction. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The silence cut deeper than Margaret's words. I'm here because Charles wanted me here, Jasper said, forcing his voice steady. If you have a problem with that, take it up with his lawyers. Margaret scoffed. A fraudulent heir. That's what you are. You don't belong here. Jasper's hands curled into fists. Fraudulent. The word echoed every doubt he'd carried since childhood. Every whisper that he wasn't enough. But before he could respond, Ethan stepped forward, his voice low but firm. Enough. Aunt Margaret. He's here. Let's hear him out. The room stilled. Jasper's heart thudded. Ethan's words weren't a defense. Not really. But they were something. A crack in the wall Jasper had built between them. He met Ethan's eyes. And for a moment, the years melted away. He saw the boy who'd kissed him in the library, who'd promised they'd escape together. But that boy was gone, replaced by a man who'd chosen duty over love. The lawyer, a gray-haired man named Harrow, cleared his throat. Charles's will is unconventional. It stipulates that Jasper, as the adopted son, has a claim to the estate, provided he fulfills certain conditions. He held up a leather-bound book, its cover embossed with the Whitmore crest. This is the family rulebook. It outlines the expectations for any heir. Jasper must prove he embodies the Whitmore values: loyalty, tradition, and sacrifice. Jasper almost laughed. Sacrifice. He'd sacrificed everything for this family: his identity, his freedom, his heart. He took the book from Harrow, its weight heavy in his hands. And if I don't? He asked. Then the estate passes to the next in line, Harrow said, glancing at Ethan. Ethan's expression was unreadable, but Jasper felt the challenge in his stare. This wasn't just about money or land, it was about them. About what they'd lost. About whether Ethan still believed Jasper was worth fighting for. That night, Jasper wandered the manor's halls, the rulebook tucked under his arm. The walls were lined with portraits of stern-faced Whitmores, their eyes following him like ghosts. He stopped at the library, its shelves towering to the ceiling, the air thick with the scent of old paper. This was where he and Ethan had first kissed, hidden behind a stack of dusty tomes, their laughter muffled by the weight of their secret. The door creaked behind him. Jasper turned to find Ethan standing there, his silhouette framed by the moonlight. You kept the book, Ethan said, his voice soft but edged with something Jasper couldn't name. It's my ticket to proving them wrong, Jasper replied, holding up the rulebook. You think I'm a fraud, too? Ethan flinched. I never said that. You didn't have to. Jasper's voice cracked. You let them push me out. You chose them. Ethan stepped closer, close enough that Jasper could smell his cologne, the same cedarwood scent that had haunted his dreams. I was 18. Jasper. I was scared. I didn't know how to fight them. And now? Jasper challenged, his heart pounding. What's your excuse now? Ethan's hand twitched, as if he wanted to reach out but didn't dare. I'm trying, he whispered. I'm trying to make this right. Jasper wanted to believe him, wanted to fall back into the warmth of Ethan's promises. But trust was a fragile thing, and theirs had shattered years ago. He clutched the rulebook tighter, its rules a lifeline and a cage. Then help me, he said. Help me prove I belong here. Ethan's eyes searched his, and for a moment, Jasper thought he saw the old spark, the one that had lit up their stolen summers. But then Ethan stepped back, his face closing off. "I can't," he said. "Not yet." Jasper watched him leave, the library door swinging shut with a finality that echoed in his chest. He opened the rulebook, its pages yellowed and heavy with ink. The first rule stared back at him. A Whitmore heir must uphold the family's honor above all else. He laughed bitterly. Honor. What did that mean in a family built on secrets and lies? But Jasper wasn't here to play by their rules. He was here to rewrite them. The days at Whitmore Manor blurred into a tense dance of power plays and whispered accusations. Jasper spent hours poring over the rulebook. Its pages a labyrinth of archaic demands. An heir must marry within the family's approval. An heir must preserve the estate's legacy. An heir must sacrifice personal desires for the greater good. Each rule felt like a stone piled on his chest. But Jasper wasn't naive. He knew the family wasn't just testing his worth, they were waiting for him to fail. Margaret was relentless, her barbs sharp and public. At breakfast, she'd remark on his common upbringing with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The cousins were subtler, their snide comments cloaked in politeness. But Jasper felt their disdain in every glance. Only Ethan remained unreadable, hovering at the edges of every room, watching Jasper with a mix of guilt and something deeper, something that made Jasper's skin burn. One afternoon, Jasper found refuge in the estate's gardens, a sprawling maze of roses and ivy where he'd once run with Ethan as teenagers, laughing until their lungs ached. He sat on a stone bench, the rulebook open in his lap. When Ethan appeared, his footsteps soft on the gravel path. "You're avoiding me," Ethan said, his voice low. Jasper didn't look up. "I'm avoiding everyone. You're just part of the package." Ethan sat beside him, too close, his knee brushing Jasper's. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. "The rulebook, the familiar theory, not worth it." Jasper's laugh was sharp. "Easy for you to say. You're the golden boy. I'm the one they're calling a fraud." Ethan's hand rested on the bench, inches from Jasper's. "I never thought you were a fraud. I never stopped." He cut himself off, his jaw tight. "Never stopped what?" Jasper pressed, his heart racing. "Caring. Loving me. Or regretting that you let me go." Ethan's silence was an answer, and it hurt more than any words could. Jasper stood, the rulebook falling to the ground with a thud. "You don't get to do this, Ethan. You don't get to act like you're on my side when you're still playing their game." "I'm not," Ethan said, standing too, his voice urgent. "I'm trying to protect you. If you push too hard, they'll destroy you." Jasper stepped closer, their faces inches apart. "Maybe I want to be destroyed. At least I'll go down fighting." Ethan's breath hitched, and for a moment, Jasper thought he might kiss him, might bridge the years of distance with a single touch. But Ethan pulled back, his eyes shadowed. "Be careful, Jasper," he said, and walked away. The next challenge came at a family dinner. A formal affair in the dining hall, with chandeliers casting golden light over crystal and silver. Harrow, the lawyer, stood at the head of the table, holding the rulebook like a priest with a Bible. "The second test," he announced, "is loyalty. Jasper, you must prove your commitment to the Whitmore legacy by presenting a plan to preserve the estate's future." Jasper had prepared for this. He'd spent nights researching the estate's finances, its crumbling wings, its outdated infrastructure. He stood, his voice steady as he outlined a vision, modernizing the manor into a cultural center, opening it to the public, preserving its history while making it sustainable. The room was silent, but Margaret's sneer was loud enough. A museum. She scoffed. You'd turn our home into a tourist trap. That's not loyalty, it's betrayal. It's survival. Jasper shot back. This place is falling apart. You can't keep living in the past. The cousins murmured, some nodding, others glaring. Ethan's eyes were on him, intense and unreadable. Harrow cleared his throat. A bold proposal. Jasper. The family will vote tomorrow. That night, Jasper couldn't sleep. He wandered to the manor's attic, a dusty maze of trunks and forgotten relics. There, among yellowed letters and faded photographs, he found a journal, Charles's journal. Its pages were filled with regrets. Confessions of a man who'd loved fiercely but lived coldly. One entry stopped Jasper cold. I chose Jasper because he reminded me of myself, someone who never belonged but fought to prove he did. I hope he forgives me for the burden I've placed on him. Jasper's throat tightened. Charles had known what this would cost him. He clutched the journal, his resolve hardening. He wasn't just fighting for the estate, he was fighting for himself. For the boy who'd been told he'd never be enough. The vote was a battleground. Margaret rallied the cousins, painting Jasper's plan as a desecration. But one cousin, Clara, broke ranks, her voice quiet but firm. He's right. The manor's dying. We can't keep pretending it's not. The room erupted in arguments, but Jasper's eyes were on Ethan, who hadn't spoken. When Harrow called for Ethan's vote, the silence was deafening. Ethan stood, his hands clenched. I vote for Jasper, he said, his voice steady but his eyes locked on Jasper's. He's the only one who sees what this place could be. Margaret's face twisted with fury, but the vote passed barely. Jasper felt a rush of triumph, but it was tempered by Ethan's gaze, heavy with unspoken words. They were allies now, but Jasper didn't know if he could trust Heimer if he wanted to. Later, in the garden, Ethan found him again. You didn't have to do that, Jasper said, his voice rough. Vote for me. Yes, I did, Ethan replied, stepping closer. I owe you that much. Jasper's heart ached. You owe me nothing. You made your choice years ago. Ethan's hand grazed Jasper's arm, a touch so light it was almost a memory. I was wrong, he whispered. I should have fought for you. Jasper wanted to pull away, to protect himself from the hope that threatened to break him. But Ethan's touch was a tether, pulling him back to a time when they'd been everything to each other. He didn't move, didn't speak, just let the moment hang between them, fragile and electric. The final test was sacrifice, and Jasper knew it would be the hardest. The rulebook demanded that an heir put the family's needs above their own, a vague edict that Margaret twisted into a weapon. You've never belonged here, she said at the final meeting, her voice cold. You're not one of us. Jasper, step aside and let Ethan take what's rightfully his. Jasper stood in the parlor, the rulebook in his hands, its weight heavier than ever. The family watched, a jury of skeptical faces. But Ethan's gaze was the only one that mattered. He sat across the room, his expression torn, as if he were fighting a war within himself. Sacrifice, Jasper said, his voice cutting through the tension. That's what you want, right? For me to prove I'd give up everything for this family. He opened the rulebook, flipping to the final page, where a single line was written in Charles's shaky hand. The true heir sacrifices pride for love. Jasper's heart pounded. He'd spent years running from this place, from the pain of not being enough. But Charles's words weren't about giving up, they were about fighting for what mattered. He looked at Ethan, and the truth hit him like a tidal wave. This wasn't just about the estate. It was about them. I'm not stepping aside, Jasper said, his voice steady. But I'm not here to take what's yours, Ethan. I'm here to prove we can build something better together. He held up the rulebook, his hands trembling. This book says an heir sacrifices pride for love. So here's my sacrifice. I'm giving you the choice. Take the estate, or fight with me to change what it means to be a Whitmore. The room was silent, every eye on Ethan. His face was pale, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. Jasper, he said, his voice breaking. You don't know what you're asking. I do, Jasper replied. I'm asking you to choose me. Like I chose you. All those years ago. Margaret's laugh was sharp. This is absurd. He's manipulating you, Ethan. He's not familized nothing. Ethan stood, his eyes never leaving Jasper's. You're wrong, he said, his voice quiet but firm. He's everything. The room gasped, but Ethan didn't stop. He crossed the parlor, stopping inches from Jasper, his breath uneven. I was a coward, he said. I let them tear us apart because I thought I had to. But I'm done running. He took the rulebook from Jasper's hands, his fingers brushing Jasper's, and opened it to the final page. This says love, not duty. And I choose love. Jasper's throat tightened, tears burning his eyes. Ethan silenced him with a kiss, soft and fierce, right there in front of the family. The room erupted in shouts, but Jasper didn't care. He kissed Ethan back, pouring years of longing and pain into that single moment. When they pulled apart, Ethan's hand was still in his, a promise that this time, he wouldn't let go. Margaret was livid, her face red as she sputtered about tradition and disgrace. But Clara and a few others stood, their faces softening. Enough, Clara said. If Charles wanted Jasper here, he had a reason. And if Ethan chooses him, that's enough for me. The vote was chaos. But when the dust settled, Jasper and Ethan were named co-heirs. A compromise that satisfied no one but felt right to them. The rulebook, with its rigid demands, was set aside, its final page a testament to Charles's hope for a different future. Months later, the manor was alive again, its halls filled with visitors exploring the new cultural center. Jasper and Ethan worked side by side, their hands brushing as they hung paintings or planned events. The family still whispered, but their voices were quieter now, drowned out by the life Jasper and Ethan were building. One evening, under the same oaks where they'd once whispered promises, Jasper handed Ethan the rulebook. You kept it, Ethan said, his voice soft. It's ours now, Jasper replied, opening it to a blank page. Let's write our own rules. Ethan smiled, pulling Jasper close. Rule 1. He murmured against Jasper's lips. We never let go again. And they didn't. The manor stood as a testament to their love. A place where legacy wasn't about blood or tradition, but about the courage to choose each other. Again and again. The Rulebook, once a cage, became a canvas story of two boys who defied the odds and rewrote their future.